Hey guys, it's Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. I'm your host, Coach Gaglione. We've got another interview here today with Dee. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you, Coach?
I'm great. So, really quick, just if you could just introduce yourself, who you are, and just what you got going on right now.
My name is Dee or Danielle, and I am a single mom of two. I work, I go to school, and I'm a powerlifter, and I love it.
Excellent. So, I wanted to kind of rewind a little bit, and can you tell the listeners a little bit, like, kind of how you initially kind of got into lifting, and kind of like what drew it to you in the first place?
Absolutely. Thank you. I originally got into lifting about a year ago because I actually pulled my back out during COVID, and I'm too young for back problems. So I wanted to build up my strength. I'm also in elder care, and my client now is a family member, and I know I'm going to have to lift her off the floor at some point. I also have a golden retriever who's about 100 pounds, and he's getting older now. I know I'm going to have to lift him off the floor at some point. So I needed strength to do all of this. And my sister actually started powerlifting first, and I saw her do it, and I think she's amazing, and I just knew I could do it, and I love it.
So I guess when you started seeing your sister Laura start lifting, what were, I guess, some of your initial thoughts, and what, I guess, made you, it sounded like you knew you had to like just get stronger anyway. But
Yeah.
then like what I guess kind of attracted you to what she was doing, and I guess some of the progress you were seeing in her, and like what initially kind of drew you to like want to try it yourself?
Well, I went to her first competition, and I saw her lift the weights, and I figured if she could do it, I could do it because I know I'm pretty strong. And also, I've never worked with a coach before, and so I go to the gym by myself and teach myself everything. And I know a little bit about fitness, but when you're at the gym by yourself, you don't know if you're doing it correctly or not. And I take videos, and I don't know if I'm correcting myself. So the fact that I'm working with the most amazing coach in the world has helped me so much.
Thank you. So I guess when you initially got kind of started, so you had obviously a little bit of a fitness background. You were exercising, doing some classes,
Mhm.
doing some stuff on your own. So I guess what were some of the first things initially when you came in, like the initial, like I guess like first couple of workouts, first month, that was maybe like you didn't realize that you were doing wrong, or maybe some things that you were like, oh, this feels like way different. Like when you were learning to squat, when you were learning to bench and deadlift, like what were some of the key things that you kind of like learned early on?
Yes, absolutely. I never used the bar actually before powerlifting. I would just do dumbbells or kettlebells. So that was all new to me. And I never did a bench press. I just did the dumbbell presses. So that was all new to me. And I loved it. I knew that I could do it.
What anything in particular in terms of like I guess things that helped you with like learning the form? Because obviously like doing dumbbells and machines, it's a lot different than when you start to use the bar for the first time. There's balance that's involved, there's more form, I guess. So what were some tips that really you felt like has helped you like along the way to, I guess, learn like the proper technique?
Well, when it comes to squat, I guess my feet, I had to practice putting my feet in the right position. I started out with a really wide stance, and over time I got more narrower, and I feel like that works better for me. When it comes to bench press, I'm still working on my form, but I think practice makes perfect.
So you talked about kind of playing with your stance a little bit. So I wanted to also highlight for people listening, like you might see someone else lift a certain way and it may not necessarily work for your body structure and like your type. So I think that's kind of important, whether you're working with a coach or not, just to like not necessarily try to like copy people, especially if their body type is different. If you could find someone that's maybe around your same body type, same like limb lengths and proportions, and even just overall size, I think that can be good. And then you just need to kind of see what works for you. So I think that's definitely good advice. Um, so we started to kind of, get training a little bit. You saw your sister compete. And then, so talk to us a little bit about like, what was, I guess, it like going from just training in the gym. And then,
Mhm.
you just did your first like kind of full competition recently, which went really well. So can you tell us about like, what's been some of the differences, training and then actually like doing a competition? What were some maybe challenges that you had, and what was that experience like?
Yes. So training in the gym, I just both basically did the machines. And I did a few just dumbbell workouts, but mostly I concentrated on the machines because I felt like I felt like I could not do the form wrong on a machine. But then switching over to the powerlifting gym, everything is dumbbells and barbells, and I really like that better. And with the competition, my struggle was, I guess, my confidence, and also my form was a big struggle. And I think I really nailed it. I think I did a great job.
So what made you want to jump into actually competing yourself, to watching your sister do it, or did you want to challenge yourself? Like what was, I guess, because obviously, it's one thing to do the movements in the gym, and it's a whole other thing, like obviously getting on a platform and doing it in front of judges. And, for a lot of people, like you said, it is like kind of nerve wracking. So I guess what made you want to try that in the first place?
I wanted to see if I can do it. And I wanted to see, I want to get as strong as I can. And I wanted to just be in that environment. And I did do the squat competition in July, and it was just a squat, and that was like a good practice for a regular competition. And in July, when I did the squat, I was nervous, but I thought I'd be more nervous on the platform, like watching all the spectators, but I wasn't. It was fine, like it was natural. And after that experience, I felt that the full meet, I can handle it. And I just wanted to like test myself and see if I could do it.
Yeah, so I think for people listening, so a couple of things I want to highlight. I think number one, obviously, you were working with a coach for a long time before you did anything, which I think is really helpful, that you're practicing it like in the right, that your lifts are going to be passed and that sort of thing. So that I think helps with the preparation. And I think that a lot of people kind of just maybe jump right into a full meet, and I think that's fine. But I do think, like, if you can do like a single lift, or maybe, you did squat only, but if it's, a lot of people have deadlift only or bench only or whatever like lift you're comfortable with. I think just kind of getting a little bit of a taste and just doing one in a competition setting, I think is a really great kind of introduction. And even for people that are a little bit more seasoned, I think the single lift meets are good because you don't necessarily have to have as much pressure. You don't need like a full, maybe like, 12, 16, 20 weeks of training to get ready for it. There's just less moving parts. This is only one lift you really need to focus on. So definitely want to highlight that for people, because I think that's something that's they feel like if they can't do all three, it's not even like worth it. So I do think that the single lift is a good option for people, especially if they're new. And I think it is good to, challenge yourself. And I think when you do a competition, you have that like kind of deadline that you're working towards. And it kind of puts some, obviously, sometimes, oh, I missed a workout here or there, but if you have this meet coming up, you take it a lot more seriously. And I think that you definitely did that. You did really well. You hit 300-pound squat, 300-pound deadlift. So some big milestones there. So how did that feel, like hitting those personal bests?
That felt amazing. And what you said was so correct, because I was training during the holidays and the kids were sick from school, and it was so easy to say I can't come one day, but I knew I had the competition, and that made me accountable. And I went every single training session. I did not miss one because of the competition. And going through it, I was thinking, well, you know what, next year I'm not going to do January because it's just too hectic. But now, after I did it and I accomplished it and I succeeded, I think I'm going to do January every year because it's so hectic and it gets me to the gym.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, not to say like you want to make it harder on yourself, but I do think it is a good point where you have that like a little bit of a positive pressure in a sense. And it kind of, I said, so because a lot of people I think really lack that consistency, or they like kind of, oh, I'll start my diet Monday, or I'll start, I'll just do it next time. And Monday never comes, or next week never comes, and they keep putting it off. So I do think there's something to be said about having like a specific date that you're kind of aiming for, even if it's just a couple of times a year, or even if it's once a year, but it's just for that time period, you do get a little bit more dialed in. And I think that's kind of a good thing. Because I think that's probably one of the missing components to a lot of people's fitness programs. It's kind of like it's good in a sense because you don't need to rush things, but like the tough thing is when there's no like pressure, there's no deadline, there's no sense of urgency, there's really not like always motivation to like really like dial things in like at a higher level. So I do think having these fun competitions, they don't necessarily need to be super serious. So the next thing I want to kind of highlight, you always have a really good time at the gym. You bring positive energy. Sometimes I do think that there are some people that maybe can take it maybe too far, or maybe take it too serious, or they just kind of get to the point where maybe it starts taking away from other areas of the life. You mentioned you're a mom and stuff, so you have other responsibilities outside of lifting, obviously.
Yes.
So what is like, I guess, your approach when you come to the gym, like what is your mindset kind of going in? And then if you maybe want to talk about like, I guess, juggling, we'll do one thing at a time. I want to talk about kind of maybe juggling the time, but before we get to that, what is kind of like your mindset and like your mental approach, like with training and kind of how you approach that? Because obviously it seems like you have a good time doing it, like, and if you kind of make a mistake, you don't like really get bogged down too much. Like, so what advice do you have for people that maybe tend to like try to be like, maybe they're perfectionists or maybe they're really hard on themselves. Like what advice can you give to those, women that are starting out?
Just show up and keep trying. Because when I on the gym door, there's a saying that says, you did the hard part is showing up and we'll take it from here. And that has helped so much. Just reading that every time I come, I know that, okay, even if I don't know how to do a machine or how to do, the form, I'm going to get help. And the fact that I'm there, it's priceless. And,
Yeah.
don't put it off. Don't make excuses, and don't put it last. Put it first. Maybe not number one before your kids, but definitely put it
Well,
like
yeah,
as more important as the job.
that's something that I talk about with my partner and stuff. Sometimes we have like this like mom guilt, right? Sometimes, and so I do think it's important, but maybe again, I think it's sometimes good to hear from a mom and hear from someone else, like, because what does it mean to you that you're like working hard and like you're maybe your kids are just starting to train now too, which is great. So so when you're like, what is your, I guess, mindset, and what advice can you give to moms that maybe feel like, oh, like I need to like always put my kids first, or I don't have time for myself? Like what advice can you kind of give to moms that maybe are afraid that maybe they're taking too much time for themselves, or like what advice can you give to those people?
Well, all moms are extremely busy and we all put our kids first, but we have to also think about ourselves. Powerlifting helps you build your strength, your physical strength and your inner strength. It helps you build your confidence. And if you're a confident, strong, mentally sane person, you're gonna be a better mother for your children, or a better father.
Yeah.
And also, your kids see you do this, and they see, if they go to your competitions or they watch your videos or they just hear you going to the gym, that's all good stuff. You're not going to a bar or getting a drink. You're going to a gym and you're exercising, and they'll see that. And then as they get older, they'll start to get into it. And those are such wonderful, wonderful habits to create.
Yeah, I think that it's so important to like, I think kids, you know, uh they learn a lot by observing.
Yes, absolutely.
So if they see you eating better, if they see you
Mhm.
having healthy habits, walking, strength training, and I think competition can be healthy to an extent too. Like you're challenging yourself, you're showing your kids that you can work towards a goal, and maybe it's going to be hard, and maybe sometimes you fail and sometimes you kind of get back up and you deal with it. And so I think how you kind of carry yourself, I think how you work towards your goals, I think that's a really good thing for them to see. So I think that's tremendous. So I think a lot of people like sometimes, um now there's definitely a point where like you don't want to be like in the gym for like 3 hours a day, right? Whatever, we try to keep our workouts a little bit shorter. So maybe
Mhm.
talk about, I guess, like the time that you're putting in, and I guess maybe like how the workouts go, because we tend to try to like push a main movement kind of pretty tough, and then we go a little bit quicker with some of the accessory movements, and maybe talk about like how that's been like helpful and how you kind of, I guess, fit that into your day.
Well, I actually I chose your gym because it's actually close to one of my jobs. So I kind of go on my way to work. So I just, I scheduled it in, and the workout session, I like the time frame, because once you're there, you need to get a decent workout. You can't just do like half an hour or 20 minutes. You're not really going to get anything done in that time.
Yeah.
But and the session only lasts about 40-45 minutes. And realistically, that's like a lunch break or less than a lunch break. So I think all moms have 45 minutes in their day, at least, not like maybe 2 days a week, to dedicate to this. Absolutely, to dedicate to
And
themselves.
so I want to highlight, so somebody, I know like you and your sister, and now you're trying to like maybe add a little bit more in, but even just starting out, a lot of the women, they were just coming maybe twice a week and just getting
Mhm.
their meat and potato, I call it, say, the meat and potatoes in. And so you don't necessarily have to train 4, 5, 6 days a week for hours on end to make progress. And like I said, for you to like hit a 300-pound squat, for example, and stuff, and like with that kind of time frame. So there's many ways to do this. And I think that if you are a parent and you are like, 'cause sometimes we see like on the internet a lot of like these, teenagers or these 20-something-year-old kids that all they have is time, and maybe they're training 5 days a week and they're doing all
Mhm.
these crazy long workouts. That's fine. But at a certain point, when you're in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50, and you're kind of like maybe a little bit more, you have other responsibilities, maybe you're a parent. I think that just it is possible to compete, and it is possible to train for a competition. It is possible to achieve great results, even with the shorter, kind of more intense workouts. I definitely think that's important for people to hear that there are other ways to kind of do this. So don't think that, oh, I can't do this because I don't. If you have one day a week, if you have 2 days a week, and you kind of now is that going to be like the most optimal thing, like for like a world champion? Of course not, but you can still again achieve great results, even
Absolutely.
even with limited time. So
Absolutely.
so yeah, I think that is all great stuff here. Um, so kind of moving forward, if you can give advice to maybe like another mom or someone that's maybe on the fence of starting a
Mhm.
powerlifting routine or a strength training routine, like what has it kind of done for you personally, and what advice can you give someone that's starting out?
I would tell somebody to find a coach, a good.
So,
I would give advice to definitely find a coach. Find a good coach. Don't think you can't do it. You If I can find time, I have 2 kids, 2 jobs, and a business, and I'm in school. So if I can find time for powerlifting, I think honestly anybody can. Also, you don't need 5 or 6 days a week, like you said. One day a week is fine. And I did my 300-pound squat and deadlift, and I was only really training at the end. I started training like 3, 4 days a week, but in the beginning, for most of it, I was just training like 1 or 2 days a week. And
yeah,
it's totally, totally doable. You just make it work for you and your schedule and your life.
excellent. Yeah, I think that's important that powerlifting should enhance what you're doing already. It shouldn't take away. And it doesn't need to be like this. It can kind of mold depending on your situation. And there might be seasons of your life which are more hectic and you're only training once or twice a week. And there might be seasons of your life that, um, you have a little bit more time and you could dedicate a little bit more, training bandwidth to,
Mhm.
your day. So I guess the last thing I just want to talk about, so I know your sister trains there. You train with a bunch of women. So I
Mhm.
guess just talk to me about like what it's like training like with it on a team, because I think that's like kind of not something that's super common. So we train in a group setting. So what have been like, I guess, some of the benefits of that, and what has that been like? Because I think that's something that I'm trying to promote a lot more. Not everyone maybe has access to it, but I think that if you can find a training crew, I do really think it's beneficial. So maybe just speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think working on a team is fabulous. I love it. I've never been on a team before, actually before now, and I love it. I love because it keeps you accountable. You feel like you're letting the team down if you don't show up to the training sessions, or if you're supposed to do a competition, you can't back out because you're letting the team down. So it definitely holds you accountable. Also, you make friends. You find amazing people that you wouldn't have met in, your daily life. And everybody comes from different walks of life, but everybody has one thing in common. And it's amazing because we all root each other on. We all feel like we're all superstars. So we all, it's a really good vibe, a really good feeling you have when you're there. And team together each achieves more. So we all achieve more being together.
Yeah, I can't recommend the team environment enough. Obviously, I'm biased, but that's something that I used to coach wrestling and football, and I primarily train in equipment. So I use knee wraps and squats and all that stuff. So that type of lifting does require help. Whereas with the raw lifting now, I've kind of seen that unfortunately a lot of the training crews have kind of come and go, and a lot of people just they may train in the same gym, but they don't necessarily train together. They're not People aren't always spotting each other, and they don't always have that camaraderie. They don't always have consistent training partners. So I do definitely think that if you can find a crew in your area or find a few people to train with, even if it's once a week, I think that makes a huge difference, especially like when you're squatting or something. The lifts that are going to be a little bit heavier and maybe like a little bit more, where you maybe, I hate to use the word dangerous, but when it gets heavy, you want to make sure you have the safety there, and having the people around you to keep you safe, keep you accountable, make sure you're doing things the right way. But yeah, having that support is tremendous, and I can't emphasize. And you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna stick to it. I've been competing since 2006, still checking off some more goals and bucket list items off my kind of uh, my to-do list. And I attribute a lot of that to the great training partners and the great people that we have at our gym. So Dee Dee, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. If you guys enjoyed the interview, please give it a 5-star review and share it with a friend. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
until next time, stay strong, and then we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you.